In the core, every parliament member, as I said, works part-time, doesn't have a full-fledged team.
Could you briefly introduce yourself and your current work?
My name is Paolo Marioni, and I'm one of the co-founder of Expediton Future. We are a Swiss-based laboratory for innovation in the political field. So what we do is that we experiment with innovative formats, innovative ways of collaboration, of political decision making, focusing on the specific context of Swiss politics. So we mainly work together with members of the national parliament, and for them we curate and facilitate processes, participatory processes, for instance, to come up with innovative, impactful political measures, political solutions. Personally, my background is in digital innovation and digital product development. I always had a big interest in politics, and now with Expediton Future, I can connect a bit these two words: the word of innovation, of discovering new ways of doing things, with the very, very important challenges that we face in the political field.
I saw your website, and there's some categories that you are doing. And first one is a policy sprint. Is this for the people who are outside of the Parliament, Congress?
Our key target group are active Parliament members. Mm-hmm. So the policy sprint. Policy Sprint is our first collaborative format, the first one we launched. In very, very easily said, it's a big workshop built around a political challenge. This political challenge is determined by politicians, by parliament members of different political groups. So we talk, our job starts by talking with members of the parliament, asking what are the topics they work on, what are the issues they care about, and we connect them. Once we hear, okay, there is a person from the right and a person from the left and a person from the center that want to work on a specific topic, we can, and through this workshop format called Policy Sprint, facilitate a process of collaborative policy making. So the center are always active parliament members, and around them, then we curate a group of about 30 experts coming from every side, from society, from business, from academia. So knowledge holder experts that support the politician in doing their work, but the core are always politicians.
Why you're doing this is because the politicians, they are not gathering together if they're a different party.
There are two reasons why we work on these kind of formats. One is a phenomenon that I think we're experiencing worldwide, is the increase in political polarization. So we observe abroad, but we observe in Switzerland and also abroad that both on societal and on political level, polarization is increasing. So people that belong to different parties, to different political groups, grow apart. And what we try to counter with our formats is exactly this. So we try to show that coming together, working together, listening to each other, and building on each other's needs, we can come up with better policies that are, on the one hand, and that's our mission, on the one hand, more ambitious, and at the same time are still able to make it through the political process. So they're able to gain a majority in parliament. That's a bit the sweet spot we try to reach. Ambition in the content, but also political feasibility from a processual point of view. A realization that our political structures, and I think Switzerland, we must acknowledge, is a particularly robust political system that we have. It's not the fastest, and exactly in this slowness, there is a big element of resilience, because decisions are well thought through. There is so they are solid exactly because we don't go too fast. At the same time, these structures are structures that are built on a word from past centuries. So our structures which are very good for complicated challenges, mainly national challenges, but we now live in a globalized world where the challenges we're facing are complex, are interconnected, they are fast, they are unpredictable, and so we also need to think what are the political structures and processes that are needed for this new world we live in. And that's the other reason why we try to develop and test new formats, is exactly to find ways to answer the challenges, to answer to the challenges of our time. Something that we also organized 2 years ago after general elections. So end of 2023, we had national elections. A new parliament was built, and what we organized was what we called a boot camp for newly elected parliament officials. And this was also a way to strengthen collaboration and make, and establish some connections across parties right at the beginning of the legislative period. So we had about 60 newly elected people in our parliament. Our parliament is in total 250, so 246 people, but so in 2023, 60 new people joined the parliament, and out of these 60 people, 20 participated in our boot camp, representing all the parties. So we had from left to the right, representative of all the parties that spent together. It was an intense 24 hours. We found a little castle in the middle of Switzerland. We went there with this newly elected parliament member and with experts. So former member of the national government, former president of Switzerland, former presidents of parties, former presidents of national council, for instance, together with scientists, with political experts, and we gathered in a very intimate setup. On the one hand, to foster exchange on how to do the job, because it's a new job, it's a difficult job, and at the same time also to enable some way to connect, to get to know each other, to realize, okay, beside our different political positions, I get to know you as a person, and and we can take it then from there and see if through the legislative period connections, collaborations emerge, exactly because we got to know each other in the first place as people and not as opponents. And that's also a format that is very it was very appreciated. The participants were very, very, very happy, and I think this is also a format that in a context of increasing polarization can be very precious to change, to break the polarization dynamic in the parliament circles.
You guys teach the new members that how to work effectively.
That's part of the promise. What is important to say, it's not me teaching anything to parliament members, but what we do as Expedition Future is we curate a group of experts. Our job is mainly the job of curating the people and curating the environment for open sharing. So we had really for instance Doris Leuthard, which is a key figure in Swiss politics, was for a long time member of our national government, was also president. We don't have a presidential model, so the government is made by equal, and every year there is one person that sits as president, but is more I would say a representative figure. So Doris Leuthard was there and was very open in sharing her experience from the government side. At the same time, we had former member of our two chambers, one former president of the Social Democratic Party, for instance, and member of the Liberal Party. So we really try to combine two sides into one room, and they discussed and shared their experience in effectively working between the chambers. Because this is there are many questions connected to this.
Inviting the parliament members is really hard, right? They're busy and they have some egos. How do you gather those people?
Key element why 1/3 of the newly elected parliament member attended this format is that we curated a group of experts, which were you couldn't wish anything better. So by looking at the list of the speaker, was clear, okay, knowledge is going to be there, experience is going to be there, top experts are going to be there. So this is the tactical answer. I think practically that's what convinced many to join. But below that, I think, as you say, of course, there is ego, there is it's as I say, there is ego in politics, but I think many people, especially the one that enter the national parliament for the first time, are also aware of their limitations, of their questions, of their lack of knowledge, and so having a platform that without blaming them for not knowing something, enable them to ask a few honest questions is something that is appreciated and is needed. And finally, also politics is about networks, is about connections. And I think also the fact of being among peers without media, without lobbyists, without external stakeholder, but only among member of the parliament was also an element, to have a fresh start and get to know new colleagues.
What's the role of a member of parliament in Swiss?
How does our parliament system on the national level work? Swiss parliament is not a professional parliament, but is a parliament, is a militia parliament. So member of the Swiss parliament are not the entire year in Bern or working in parliament, but actually they gather mainly for 3 weeks every 4 months. So we have 4 major parliamentary sessions, 1 per season, and during these sessions, member of parliaments are in Bern and do their let's say the core parliamentary work. The rest of the time they live in their regional regions, in their constituencies, and they also work. They are professionally involved. There is a major challenge, however. As I said before, we live in an increasingly complex world where challenges are heavily interconnected, are hard to understand. And so the job for the politicians is getting harder and harder and harder. So it's also getting harder and harder to do this job only on a part-time base. So many politicians end up slowly, progressively giving up their original work and increasingly focusing on political work, just because the engagement needed is to do this work properly is getting higher and higher, and there is no other way. So it's that's a major challenge also from a structural point of view, how to support this translation.
So now it's changing from part-time job to full-time job.
Yeah, we still and so it's still a part-time job officially, and I would say there are members of the parliament that are very proud of this and that really focus on this. They say, I want to keep doing my job, I want to keep having the connection to reality, but the reality is that increasingly more and more members of the parliament accept some political roles. For instance, they become president of interest groups. So they accept this kind of political roles or politically related roles that give them an additional income, so that they can basically focus on the political work on a full-time base or on a higher percentage. That's the reality, even though some, I would say, many members of the parliament strongly highlight the militia element, but the reality is also that more and more people have to do this kind of connection because there is otherwise no way to do both jobs in the quality that is required.
They have to win an election to become a politician. So most of members are using their time for their election, not doing the Congress work things. It is become a big problem in Korea. So what about that? Do they use many times for their election without the election season?
With Expedition Future, we are exposed, I would say, to a group of parliament members that are really engaged on the topic. So when they decide to work with us, they invest time on the topics, on the content, on the parliamentary work. So I would say I also have some kind of positive bias. The politicians I observe the closest are the ones that I would say take their job very, very seriously. But in general terms, I would say situation is not as extreme as you describe it or as I hear from you. But our experience 2023 was, I would say that. I would say in the last 6 months before election, you could notice that members of the parliament that were campaigning, that were aiming to be re-elected, became very selective in the way they invested their time. They did their job in parliament. They worked in the commission. It's not like they didn't do that essential part of the work, but their engagement beside core parliamentary work were pretty much directed towards platforms for visibility and for re-election. So I think that's something which is intrinsic in a representative system. It's normal that there is this element. In my experience, I would say is not that extreme as I hear it from you, but there is a period before election that is strongly related also to these phenomenon. And then, of course, and that's more I would say it's more the party game. All through the years, as a party, you need to profile, you need to position yourself. So you have politicians that are somehow the faces to their parties, and these politicians play a key role in making some topics visible. So going to television, discussing with others, saying what their party stands for or doesn't stand for. And in a certain sense, so they're constantly doing campaigning. But that's also something which is functional, because you need to functionally position your party, and you need a few people at least that contribute to positioning the party, while other are more have more time to work on the topics, on the dossier, on the commission work. It's an intrinsic trade-off, and in the end, it's you need both, I would say. As Expediton Future, or in the way we work, what we see as our goal is to strengthen the ones that want to work on the dossier, to strengthen the ones that want to do good political work, and support them with processes, with knowledge, to make them more effective.
In Korea, there is a widespread belief that European members, including Swiss members, work entirely on themselves without any help. But last we met, that you said there's some aid group outside of the parliament. So can you tell me about those structures and working environment?
Absolutely, and I would even make clear the Swiss setup is a particularly compact setup. So there are countries like Germany, for instance, that even provide more and more resources for their parliament members. But I can share briefly a bit the Swiss setup. So in the core, every parliament member, as I said, works part-time, is a part-time politician or parliament member. So doesn't have a full-fledged team supporting him, but every parliament member has a limited budget to hire a direct support, a direct assistant. It's in a percentage between 30 and 50%, I would say, depending on how much you pay your collaborators. So every parliament member can hire collaborators in this 30 to 50% pensum workload. They usually use these 30% or 30 to 50% on the one hand to support with political work, so doing researches, preparing material, and at the same time to do communication, so to support them in clearly connecting with their constituents, with their voters. So doing these two things, I would say these are the two main tasks they do. So that's the direct support or the personal support they have, and then there is the machine of the parliament, or the parliament services, which is very essential. For instance, the parliament member can ask can go through the parliament library and ask them to research anything that was done in the past. In parliament that was discussed in the past. So you can say, I want to work on the topic of universal basic income. Please make a review of past discussion in parliament about the topic. So they collect it for you. That's one example. So the parliament services are a service provider, a supporter, the key supporter of the parliament member in doing their work.
In Swiss, parliament service, the member get some service themselves, not by other.
Yes, because as I said, they have very limited staff. If you have a person working 2 days per week for you, you need to do the rest of the work yourself. So yeah, most of the parliament members I know, they're very direct in exchange with the parliament service. At least the one we work with, they are very proactive in this way. Yeah.
First one, you told me that the parliament member hire those 8 steps from the company, right? That's what you said before when we met. There's
maybe I can reframe how they do it. So usually they hire. So they have this budget that allow them to hire a staff position with a workload between 30 to 50%. They are free to hire the person they want. So they typically hire somebody they know from before, that worked in politics before, that is knowledgeable about their key topic, or that is skilled in communication if they need more communication support. So that's something they're free to do as they want. So they hire this person directly.
It doesn't matter who they are. Okay.
Doesn't matter. They're really free, and of course, you have some people that hire more from the parties themselves, other people that hire from private economy or from consulting firms, depending a bit on what's your preference. And an additional support, a third type of support that parliament member also receive is the support from the commissions they work in. So the parliament, our parliament, has a set of topic commissions, and these commissions have staff. Again, the staff belongs to the parliament services, so to the parliament itself is independent, and these staff also support the parliament member in doing their work. So again, they can support with research tasks, with preparing, formulating documents. So these are services that they get in a centralized way from the parliament services.
Cooperation with the interest groups, is that important in Switzerland politics?
It is essential, as it is also essential collaboration with civil society, with academia. Reality is that politics moves in a very complex system with many stakeholders, and a key task, in my understanding at least, of what a parliament member is supposed to do is to listen to these groups. There are groups you are closer to, maybe depending also on the party you come from. There are groups that you are more far away, but a key task of parliament member is exactly to understand the groups around them, so that they are then able to work together with other parliament member and find solution together. So I would, to put it very simply, maybe a member of the Social Democratic Party is going to work more closely, usually, with representative of civil society, associations for social causes, for instance, while a member of the Liberal Party might be, so the Liberal Party in Switzerland is the economic closest party in the center-right spectrum, and so a member of the Liberal Party is probably going to have closer connections to business and to interest groups from business. But everyone is in contact with interest groups. That's the reality, no matter where these interest groups come from.
Is there any concern about the interest group maybe influencing the parliament member?
Every member of parliament is related with groups. There are groups out there, and so the influence is going to play a role. What is key for me in this context is acknowledging the fact that you cannot disconnect from the interest groups, because this would mean disconnecting from society. Is to make the liaison, the connection, visible. So it's about being transparent and saying, okay, the reality is everybody is connected to societal organizations, business organizations. Important is to know where the connections are. Important is to know that a person from a certain party is related to certain groups, and from another party to other groups. That's I think the best you can do is making it visible and transparent, because you cannot forbid it by itself. But it's problematic when it's not visible, when it's hidden.
What do you think the strengths and weakness of the structure of Swiss Parliament?
I think we have a system that we cannot complain about. Our political system is working, is solid, as I said before. When strength and weakness at the same time of our parliamentary system or of our political system is that it is a slow system. We proud ourselves of being a very innovative country. That's definitely true if you look at the number of patents that our pharmaceutical industry, for instance, produce. But our political system is not always the fastest in adopting new solutions. This is related to the fact that that we live in so that we have a system where we don't have it's not a majority-driven system, but we have a government built by various representatives of various parties. So you need more discussion. You need more time to find compromises that work on a government level and on a parliament level. So this makes the system slower, at the same time more robust, because by the time that we adapt something, other countries already did it and tested and learned, failed. So we wait and see in many cases before we adapt innovations on political level. And I think this is at the same time strength and weakness. And it's also a bit the inspiration for me. This means if you are in such a good position, if you have a system which is robust, then it is almost a responsibility to build on this robustness and being bold and experiment new ways. Experiment new formats, new ways to do political decision making, new participatory formats. That's something that you can do exactly because you have one system that works well. If your system is not working well, you better fix it. But if your system is working, then you can look further and ask yourself, how can we get closer to population? How can we get more effective? How can we better manage the complex challenges out there? And that's I think it's a key motivation also in the work we do.
On your work, Expediton Future, do you guys do anything with AI? Not about the governance or AI or regulation of AI, but using the AI to improve or innovate the work of politics.
So what we are doing right now is having a close eye on what are opportunities, potentials of AI technologies for deliberative settings, such as the parliamentary one. We are not actively using AI, I would say, in a very specific way. We use support as an organization, as many organizations also use AI as a basic support. But what we are looking into is how AI can support in making positions visible, and especially compromises or potential for compromises visible between different party settings. And there is some interesting research, there are very relevant research. For instance, an experiment run by DeepMind, what they call the Habermas machine. Maybe you're aware of it, which is an AI-based facilitator of political discourse.
Yeah.
So what's interesting there is that what we do as political facilitators is to try to help different politicians and different stakeholders to find common ground, to find compromises. And this work that we do is a work of analyzing. In the end, it's about collecting topics, seeing where the topics get together, where there is a line of compromise. And that's something that AI could do very well. And the Habermas machine is one of the first very interesting tests trying to use AI to do this job. So I think this is a direction that is very interesting. It has some it's also connected to some ethical questions, but it is extremely interesting, and that's something we are observing closer and closer, and where we are looking into what could we do with it. So currently we have our former intern currently finishing his studies at London School of Economics, and is writing his thesis exactly on this topic, also looking at the work we are doing with Expediton Future to see whether there is a potential for usage of this kind of tools in our work. That's one of the opportunity. Of course, there are many, but that's one of them.
I got a lot of insight from you, so thank you.
Happy that it helped, and was nice having a chance to reflect a bit on the work we do and connect it a bit with the Korean context that I really value. So thank you for your time.